Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Real Life Real Tarot, where we explore solutions to questions faced in our everyday lives. Now, today we're looking at a case scenario, meaning that it's not a real question asked by anyone in particular, and the gist of it is this. My husband and I have been trying to have a baby for 3 years. He wants to try IVF, but I'm not sure I can handle another disappointment. So let's have a look at the detail. 3 years of negative tests have left me feeling emotionally hollowed out, and I'm terrified that my heart simply doesn't have any more room for the crushing weight of another no. My husband is ready to dive headfirst into clinical intensity of IVF because he's still in solution mode. But I feel like I'm already drowning in the medical trauma and exhaustion of hope. I love him and I want our family to grow, yet I'm scared that if we push forward and fail, there won't be anything left of me or our marriage to pick up the pieces. I need the cards to help me understand my own emotional capacity so we can find a path forward that doesn't sacrifice my well-being for a possibility. What a great question, and what an intense one, because the reality is that wanting to conceive and having problems with conception it is exactly as our pretend querent has said. It's emotionally traumatic to deal with the constant no's, not to mention it's also costly as well. What is the price? What is the risk? And is it worth, the possibility of a reward rather than an actual guarantee? So the question she's asking us is, why is my fear of further disappointment currently outweighing my desire to keep trying? So she wants to know more about where is this all coming from deep down within. Now, I would have much preferred should I go ahead with with yet another try and a stab at IVF. But our querent wants to know why is she already in the headspace of a further no. So let's have a look and see what we can get. Before we do, I'm going to pick out a card that I think best represents our querent, and I'm going to go ahead and find the Queen of Cups. Why the Queen of Cups? For the particular reason that I feel like she's best represented by this card in the sense that there's a lot of emotion attached. The Queen of Cups is a nurturing, caring card, and as a mother, if the card were to be a parent of sorts, it would be a very emotional one that is capable of providing great amounts of emotional support. So for those reasons, I'm going with the Queen. Now, if you happen to be doing a reading like this, you can go any type of querent that you think would be best suited. I don't think in the end of the day, it really matters who you pick, well, any more than what your gut tells you to pick. God damn it, I swear, if this is going to be the last card, I will lose it. Yeah, here we are. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is just shuffle and then deal myself another 8 cards and figure out where our querent sits in all of this. Alright, deal me 8. 1, 2, 8. As you probably figured out, we're going to use a 9-card box spread. Ever since I read the book Tarot Tableau Revolution by Maria Alves Hernando, I find that it looks at the cards in a much more interesting and nuanced way. And for that reason, you'll probably find a lot of my readings will correspond with a tableau style reading. So here we go. And just a quick camera check to see all the cards are in range, and they are. Wonderful. I don't know why I dealt them face down. What's wrong with me? Okay. So the question to remind everyone is, why is my fear of further disappointment currently outweighing my desire to keep trying? So it's a why question. And ultimately, we're looking at some insight into what is going on behind the scenes. Each row of this represents a past, present, and the future. Past, present, future. But before we go into detail, we're going to look at the spine of the reading. The spine of the reading is the overall outlook, or I guess the feel of how things are, and it's depicted by 3 cards. This one, our center one, and then the bottom right. So top left, center, and bottom right. So the top left card tells us the vibe of the reading. So what's the feel? And the 9 of Cups symbolizes emotional, like a strong emotional connection. And we see 2 lovers here wrapped in each other's arms and in what looks like basically an embrace as they hold 2 cups to each other and they drink from it. The vibe of the reading is a deep and profound sense of love for each other. She cares for her partner quite deeply, but the 9 as opposed to the 10 has a lot to do with self-love. The kind of sense of emotional completion you get from just being a happy person without needing to find that in in a partner. And I think what this card is kind of suggesting is that our querent here has a deep sense of love and respect for herself. She knows her boundaries. She knows what she's capable of giving. But at the same time, she's well aware of how damaging this has been to her own well-being and to her own emotional state as well. What is the core of the reading? We see the Lovers in reversed. Now, the Lovers as a card, people often think this means emotional relationship, spiritual relationship. It does. And then therefore the opposite of it must mean a divorce. It's not that simple. The Lovers card symbolizes the theme of connection. And when the lovers come into your reading, it kind of shows a deep and profound connection that you have from having common interests, common views, common values, and so on. And being that is reversed, what we're seeing at the core of the reading is that we have 2 people here with very disparate desires and needs, and that there's difference in desire and needs is causing a disconnection between the 2 of them. There is a rift here because, while her partner is super enthusiastic about the possibility of getting a kid, our querent here feels just more pain and suffering. So let's have a look at the outcome. We see the Magician, and the Magician is a card that often depicts that ability, that can-do attitude found in someone pretty intelligent, pretty creative, pretty artful. And I say artful because the Magician is a card is not often someone who is spiritually inclined, but often someone who's a great trickster, a great street magician, so to speak. However, when we read cards, it's not necessarily about what the traditional interpretations of the cards represent. Every deck you choose interprets and revises the meanings in their own way. And here we have a magician, a character who she's got a cannula, or they've got a cannula on the nose, which suggests that this magician is sick or is managing an ongoing illness. And they get up each morning to do a daily ritual, as they have been doing, an affirmation of their health. And the magician often, when it comes into your reading, depicts, the act of actually getting what you want, an affirmation of your health, an affirmation in defense of your current position. Magicians often get what they want. They're incredibly clever as characters. And the theme is that you will assert your needs. So that is going to be the outcome. So let's have a look at a little bit more detail here. Okay, so in the past, we see three cards, Nine of Cups upright, Justice reversed, and then the Eight of Swords upright as well. Now, the upright Nine of Cups tells me that, the two of you have been pretty united in this goal of having a kid. And, it never before cost your health, but it has been something that is an issue for me in the present, which we'll look in more detail. The odds, Justice reversed, have been against you. There's been a lot of no's, there's been a lot of red tape, there's been a lot of problems. Perhaps the law hasn't been on your side, perhaps there have been rules and regulations that haven't worked in your favor. But nonetheless, things haven't worked for you. Finally, we have the Eight of Swords. So, in the Eight of Swords, we see a woman here trapped. Often this card depicts basically a person being trapped by their own design, by their own ideas, by their own views and decisions. And in this reading, in this position, it kind of suggests that perhaps the two of you have been, or your partner has been so fixed about it going in one particular direction that they might not have been aware of some of the consequences it has had on other aspects of your life. Swords are the card of the intellect, the card of decision making. And often at this stage, the eights, there's this idea that you advance. But in order to advance, you kind of have to let go of some of your fixed views on how things can work. And here we see someone who's basically is struggling to let go of their fixed mindset and way of making decisions. So what does it all mean? We see a situation where the two of you have pushed for an idea, the idea being having kids, even though in spite of odds working against you, but perhaps pushing it in a way that hasn't really been working for you, and it has come at a cost that you haven't perhaps foreseen. And this has been the recent past for both of you. So let's move to the present. We have two cards in reverse and one not. The High Priestess and Love is in reverse, and then the Seven of Cups that is upright. So High Priestess. We have the High Priestess is someone who is deeply connected with her intuition, with her sense of what is right and wrong, so much so that she has no regard for what others think. But that's just part of, what her intuition and what her character tells her. The answers to problems are found in the powers that be up there, rather than in the people around them. The Lovers is a card that typically talks about connection, as I said earlier, and then we have the Seven of Cups, which is a card that often symbolizes the act of daydreaming, the act of fantasy, perhaps sometimes living in delusion as well. So what are these cards telling us? The High Priestess reverse is telling you that part of the reason why you're so distressed is that you haven't been listening or paying attention to the intuition coming from your body. Your body knows what it needs, and your soul, fatigue and exhaustion from this process as a consequence of not listening to what your body is telling you, but also your partner's desire for actually pursuing happiness through having a kid. Yeah, and it's just not working out. There's two things that are in conflict with each other that need to be reconciled. So how does this all reconcile? You see finally your card here, the querent. You. Next to it we see the Ace of Cups, and then we also see the Magician. The Ace of Cups is a card that often talks about new hopes, new promises, new horizons, and new possibilities in your emotional space. It can also symbolize conception and being reversed. It does not look upon that favorably. Now, that's not to say that you will never have kids. That's not what we're looking at here. What we're seeing basically is that going forward, you may actually end up taking a break from having kids, and you, as a magician, assert what you want. The Magician is about will and action, and having the intellect to pursue what you need. And what I see happening for you is that you will actually get to articulate how you feel. I think it's actually what you need to do and how this is impacting on you. And as a result of that, what's going to happen is there's going to be a pause in your pursuit for having a kid while you recover. The Magician card does see you actually making that recovery. And from then on, who knows what will happen. So this reading is not looking at the deep future. It's kind of basically answering the question, where is this fear coming from? And why is it outweighing your desire to keep trying? And the answer is pretty much is because you are exhausted. This has taken a toll on your health and well-being. Some of this has gone against your own intuition, your bodily intuition, and that has come at a cost to you. So in order for you to recover, you will actually need to take a little bit of a time out just to actually find yourself again. Trying the same route, trying the same thing multiple times has actually had an impact on yourself. The other part is that the disconnection between the two of both your intentions is also causing friction as well. It's clear that the impact it's had on your health has not been communicated to your partner. Yeah. Now, I'm not quite clear as to why he's so, why he's so fixated on the idea of having a kid straight away. Obviously these things do have an emotional toll, but it's clear that your health and well-being need to be, and your state needs to be communicated to him. And that's certainly been on your mind. As we can see, the High Priestess is sitting above your card. Let's see if there's anything else I can glean from this reading. I'm going to stop my reading there for today because I think that's pretty much the answer to the question. But if you have any other questions, or viewers, if you have any thoughts on how I could interpret these cards, do let me know. Aside from that, don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, have a wonderful afternoon.